Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can see a PowerPoint presentation right now. So a little bit about me. Again, I founded Mainspring Solutions in 2005. Got an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering. Got an industrial engineering master's degree. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Ohio. I'm also adjunct faculty at The Ohio State University, which is where I'm at right now. I've been that for the last 10 years. And I'm a subject matter expert for companies, bigger companies, Magnet, Cohen, a few you might have heard of. Been doing supply chain for about 30 years, and specifically ERP selection for about the last 4 specifically. So one of the things that we thought we would do is really kind of go through some kind of standard, again, things that sound familiar, right? Are you using all your software capabilities? Do you have more than one software to run multiple areas of your business? Have you started to look at a new ERP and are getting bombarded with sales calls? No offense to any ERP, Angela, but in the days of marketing, the second you look at something, 27 people call you. So are you getting calls like that? Are you on your system's latest version, or have you stopped paying for those high maintenance costs? And then again, does your software communicate with all the operational areas of the business? Nobody needs to answer those. Those are typical things that I hear. I'm sure Angela hears them as well when we engage with clients. Then you start to go on the path of looking at ERPs, and there's an unending stream of what they can do and who they can do it with, and Google for days. So here's just a one graphic of all the systems that are out there. On top of that, companies like 2020 Insight and others get very specific into industries, and they're very well known and recognized in the industries. We showed a few. These are some familiar names that people should be familiar with. Later on, Angela will talk about 2020 Insight specifically and some of its functionality. When you think about an ERP system, it becomes pretty daunting, if you will, when you think about all of the pieces of your business that have to run together. From account, it isn't just an accounting software. It isn't just the accounting side of things. It's payroll. It's, what kind of reports are you needing? Are you making on demand to run your business? How are you tracking your inventory? How are you ordering your inventory? What kind of security do you have on your data? A common question is, are you multi-company? Are you multi-division? Are you multi-facility? All of these things, do you deal in CRM? Obviously, all of you are manufacturers. Do you do project costing? Do you do any online web e-commerce that you need some credit card functionality? Do you have some warehousing? And then, service. What kind of service are you providing, right? So the big question as you start to go down this ERP path is, what do you have now that supports these areas? And really, what do you need to grow, to take that next step? When you think about ERP systems, and you think of all the reasons why an ERP can fail, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do kind of want to go through this in a way that maybe plant some seeds as you maybe look to go down your ERP path. And I'll just say, I don't, from this, I don't sell any software at all. I'm not attached to any ERP system. I'll talk a little bit about how I can help. But basically, this is all really just seeds for you to think about as you maybe go down that path, whether it's now, a year from now, 5 years from now, right? So are you even running on an ERP system? That's kind of the first question. If you're running on one, even if it's QuickBooks, it's one that helps you, align the business. Lack of clear objectives. Do you really know what your system and what each area needs and requires? Poor change management. Again, what is the appetite in your company for actually change? Have you done things in the past, put in ERP systems, put in new processes, put in some KPIs? How well does your culture and company react to those? That isn't a good or a bad, but if you struggle with change management, ERP will definitely challenge you as a company. Lack of user involvement, right? Is how engaged are your people to do this? Going down the path and trying to find an ERP system is expense. It's expense from a time and commitment from the people in your company, and ultimately an expense to implement. And so how engaged is your management team and are others as you start to implement? Do they immediately go to Excel and start figuring out ways to work around the system or not work in the system? How open are you with what is actually going on? Lack of transparency. All of a sudden, does your staff, does your people, does your company know what you're doing, when you're doing it, timelines, involvement, all of those things. And again, I think, that applies to anything that you want success on. The more visibility you can give, the better. Customization versus standardization. I can tell you of companies and experiences where I won't name them out, but got companies who buy the best systems in the world in warehouse management or in ERPs. And the hardest thing, probably one of the bigger pieces of failure, is understanding how the system works optimally and adjusting your processes and how you do business in order to align with that. A lot of companies trip here, and again, I don't want to beat up on Angela, but a lot, the software is so flexible these days and with things that can bolt on, that it's very easy for ERP providers to customize whatever you want. They can do. That isn't necessarily the best thing. There's a lot of reasons for why it's not the best thing, and it's really understanding what you really need from a process standpoint versus how you're doing it now. The integration piece, again, that's bringing that in. That's migrating your data from what it is now to what it is going to be. That's the testing, and that's the training, and that's all of those things that, making sure that, again, it all works together. One of the things that we talk about in integration, and we'll talk down the road in this slide deck, is, are you using graphical systems? Are you using AutoCAD or Microvellum or others to do your work? How well does that integrate into whatever system you're purchasing? It's really important to make sure that is there. Again, we talked about data migration, right? Making sure that you've got the right files with the right data. Certainly, you don't want to give bad data into the system. I think we all in the cabinet industry, right, understand what happens if we don't measure twice, and it goes for the same thing here with picking an ERP system. Security, what kind of security is out there? Not only one to handle all of the outside hacks and intrusions that are trying to happen, but two, what kind of security within the framework of your business does the system allow for access to executives versus access to line level staff? And how does that security work? And then again, ultimately, it boils down to people and planning, resources and planning. Do you have the right people and the right time commitment in order to put this in a manner that, again, there's no doubt that it will be changed, but is that change gone through fast, or do we trip over it? And so these are the pieces that, even if you know the system that you're going to pick, it all of this works together to make sure that your implementation, whoever, is successful. Any questions on this one? Okay, I'll move on. Then on top of that, ERP systems there's a couple of ways to get an ERP system. One is, you get a best of breed ERP. It's a comprehensive system. It's got everything attached to it, and it's one unit. The other piece, again, it all depends on appetite and size, is more modular, where you've got systems, and I think Angela will probably talk about this more, but you've got systems that I don't necessarily need all of these things. I don't need a CRM. I don't need, a call center, or I don't do service. And so I can put parts of a system, of a company's functionality together and really get what I need. That's really that modular ERP. And then there's this, I call it the ERP suite, because Frankenmonster doesn't sound that good. But, there are certainly software out there. Salesforce, great software for CRM, for sales. There's other softwares Sugar is another one. But there are software that are best of breed in their industry and in their functional area. Maybe your appetite is, I want to find best of breed in these systems and work and find where those integrations work to really put together a system that at its core does the things I needed to do, but I've got these options that allow me to get the best of breed in other functional areas that maybe the ERP system is either doesn't address, or you're just that much more evolved as a company, and you might need something different. Hope that makes sense. So the other thing, and I'll let Angela chime in on this as she wants, but basically we look at ERP systems in 3 phases. Really, the first phase is really going through and understanding and identifying all the functional requirements that you need as a company, right? So looking at your operation, if you're talking about me, somebody coming in and doing an on-site visit, understanding your current state of systems, processes, and needs. We may be getting rid of systems, but there may be other systems that you use that need to integrate, right? So this operational review piece in the very beginning allows us to do that. It allows us to start conducting interviews, start getting some requirements planning done, customers and markets, any regulatory requirements, any business goals, and then functional weights. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but if you're, do you need finances? Do you need manufacturing? More heavily weighted, are those the key decision pieces? Are those the key functional areas that you need to in order to effectively take that next step? Once we figure out kind of that high level piece, then we get into the detail of it, right? We interview the departments, we get team inputs. I've seen teams as big as 5 or 6 in a department area, like manufacturing or engineering, and I've seen them as little as 1 or 2. So it, again, all depends on the size of your company and really level of engagement. And then once that's done, we really get all of your requirements down on paper. I use from that, I actually have got 2 tools that I have access to that, based on your answers, these tools have done the same thing for 90 to 100 different ERP systems, and it creates a fit. I'll show you what that fit looks like, so that you can get to a finalist piece where you move on to phase 2, where, hey, here's the 2 or 3 systems that we think work. Let's bring them in. Let's see some demos from them, so that we can make an executive team decision. I've got kind of like an average timeline below. This is about an 8-week process, depending on your appetite and your speed. I've done it in as little as a week, this whole thing in as little as a week. And, I've done it longer than the 8-week period. Again, it all depends on timing, commitment, and, who you want to be involved. Sometimes schedules just dictate the length of this. Here's kind of what happens at the end. After we do all of your requirements, we can bounce those up against known functionality of certain systems. This does not represent, by the way, this does not represent the cabinet industry. This is just a sample look for one of the reports, so that you can get a feel for what this does. But basically, it tells you who the vendor is, what their package is. Some vendors have multiple packages. And then what kind of percent fit. And this is a percent fit based on your needs, your weighting, in order to, again, find those systems that can satisfy what you really need to do to run a business. It gets pretty detailed, right? We not only get into at a high level what it is, but we get into a detail level functional area, from information technology, engineering management, manufacturing management, supply. And we can see, again, in this particular example, where systems stack up with the functionality. You can see there's a lot going on here. I won't get into the detail of it, but we can weight different areas, and by weighting the different areas and knowing those percent fits, it helps us start to figure out which of these 10 are really aligned with those most important functional things that we need within our business and our solution. Any questions on that? After that, after we get down to those 2 or 3, we then move into phase 2, which is really sending all that information out to those 2 or 3 system providers, collecting sending out RFPs, letting those systems come in and discover who you are. Certainly they can read a requirements document, but they want to know, what you are as a company, who you are as a company, how you operate, your culture, all of that. Once that's done, they usually can put together a proposal. And then, what I recommend quite often, Angela can speak to this, is really a script designed on your data. What you're going to want to know is, from the time you get a sale, whatever that sale is, to creating a product, whether it's you're creating it on the floor or you're buying parts from suppliers, how all of that works and how it flows through a system. And so we give those systems a sampling of your data and help walk through and give them time to really build a script or a demo that highlights their strengths as well as gives you a level of comfort for, can the system do what I need it to do? We go through those demos. Typically, Vince can probably talk to this because I've just gone through this with him. But typically, as you go through these demos, it's kind of like house hunters. You have a checklist, you go through it. Usually there's one that drops out and you get down to maybe 2 finalists. And in those finalists, you start to, in seeing those demos and seeing what can be done, you start to really fine tune where those important, deal breakers are, or where those critically important functionality areas are. And maybe you do a second demo with very specific, very focused, just to make sure this particular area is covered. And again, that one, Angela could also speak to. We try to make it in as short a time frame as possible, but again, from schedules to second demos, this is probably the one that also can bleed out if everybody schedules and all that stuff. I'll just leave it at that. Again, a typical script that we like, right? Typically an item with a long routing and a bill of material, so that we can see how that system sets up bill of materials. Because traditionally we'll want to see MRP run, as you can see in the second step. So we'll get a sales order and we'll want to follow that item and that BOM and see how work orders are created, how purchase orders are created, how it all comes together from the receipt, how those work orders are initiated, and then if there's any quality checks, and then how that work turns into a finished good that then I can ship an invoice. So this is a pretty standard script that we put together. What we do is we put this together with your data and give those ERP systems some time to really take a look at all this, ask questions, so that when they come in, they can put their best foot forward. The other things to think about on the demos are, industry implementations. We've got 2020 Insight here today, a regular in the woodworking industry, and some people go out and I can give you numerous examples of, there are industry leaders in ERP systems that own the market, or there might be 1 or 2 or 3 systems that do 90% of the implementations. That's awesome. That kind of helps you figure out who to shortlist, but it isn't an excuse to not do the requirements, if that makes sense. So we've got industry implementations, which matter. We've got other things, not only requirements, but as you look at these demos, how does the functionality work? How's the user ease? When they're going through the demo, are you going through 20 or 30 screens to get there? And then what kind of experience do they have with some design software? Cabinet Visions, Microvellum, Almoxy, AutoCAD, or SolidWorks. And then phase 3 is really the implementation. And that really falls on both you as a business and the ERP provider. And it's really building that schedule together so you stay on task. But it is not uncommon to be in that, and Angela can either back me up or not, but I've seen anywhere from 90 to 180 days of getting it in and set up and running. Who can help? Obviously, I can. But locally, if you're not aware of the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, it's government kind of funded. It is under the umbrella of commerce, but there are companies, consulting companies in each and every state devoted to supporting manufacturing. And they get to support those not only with technical expertise. I'm a subject matter expert for 3 different MEPs. We call them MEPs, 3 different MEPs in the state of Ohio. And there's typically 1 in every state. So you can reach out to them. They may have some subject matter experts, or they may have some grant money that might help some of this. That's it for me. I hope that that was. If you have any questions, please let me know. But if not, I'm going to turn it over to Angela, who's been with Syncly 2020 for the last 18 years, and specifically in the ERP sector, manufacturing sector, for the last 6.
Thank you, Tom. Here, tough act to follow here. Kind of share my screen and tell you guys a little bit about Insight. Bear with me as I figure out my screen share again. Thank you. I think that should have worked. You guys are in agreement with that statement?
Yeah, looks good. If you want to maximize the screen.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Thanks, Tom. Again, fabulous presentation, by the way. I think all of your points are really valuable. When we talk to people initially, we try to help counsel them in the same way to look at all of those parts of their business. So great information. I want to kind of get into who we are at Syncly. Syncly is a new brand. A lot of people are still a little bit confused by it. We are a merger of 2020 Technologies, which is the very familiar brand that everybody has known for years here in North America. 2020 Technologies and CompuSoft Group in Europe, a merger of 2 giants. And we are all about technology solutions for the interior renovation, interior spaces of the homes. We are not just limited to the design software anymore. A lot of people have maybe known us only in that going to market through a design tool, 2020 Design. Tom, I can share you a little bit about that. I didn't see us on the design portion of your slides, but 2020 Design has always been kind of our flagship product here in North America, and the Insight as an ERP to run the manufacturing portion of your business. But we are all about technology, from kitchen and bath with cabinetry through upholstery and furniture. This is a little bit more about who we are, because I think one of the important things, and people have some concern with as a shop for an ERP and a partner, is our strength, our depth, and our stability, and how long we're going to be around or have been around. And our company, Syncly, with the merge of the 2 industry powerhouses, we are now greater than 2,000 employees with a global presence, and our products sold around the world. So we have really become a pretty impressive sized organization. And we spend, there's a little graph there to the side, about 30% of our annual revenues on R&D. So we've been here. You're familiar with us on the design side, and hopefully we're going to be around for many years to come. A little bit about that. Again, we've been around a long time. I just wanted to throw a slide in here for you guys to kind of take a glance at just a few of the companies that run their businesses with our ERP 2020 Insight, or simply Insight now. All different sizes. I would probably say that we are that medium size and up. By the time that you start looking at an ERP to run your business, when you start to have those needs from MES, a warehouse management system, things like that, you definitely are in that medium to larger size area for our typical Insight customer. I want to give you an idea. If you were to explore Insight, you wouldn't be alone. You're in great company. So this just shows you a little bit about all of the different adjacent industries, from kitchen and bath, wood panel processing, the traditional, I call it traditional stuff. It's traditional to my brain. Architectural millwork, interior doors. I've mentioned earlier upholstery. So Syncly is really focused on developing product, designing the spaces through the sales process to making it, and even the installation in the field. We have solutions, a complete end-to-end solution that is seamless when all integrated together. So as such, this gives you a little bit of an idea that we start with the front end and your sales tool with 3D product configurators, 3D design presentation packages with our 2020 design, the product configuration with a configure price quote, a CPQ solution for the front end, where all of that can be direct to the consumer if you wanted it to be, and then all come into our ERP system. Warehouse management, manufacturing execution. We play well with others. You're going to see on another slide, our next slide here, in different ways that we can deploy this solution. But Syncly's offering is end-to-end, from your front end go-to-market strategy, however you're generating your revenue, to managing your sales orders, how you're handling them, having visibility into all of your products or components as they travel through the shop floor, to scanned, complete, ready for shipping or onto a truck, and then in the field, knowing that those were successfully delivered without any issues, or just maybe a sign off, whatever that last stopping point in the journey in your ERP would look like for your business, we're able to accommodate. Tom had mentioned a little bit about modular solutions, and Insight is modular. The point of sale, kind of look at that. It just mentioned some of this. Any point of sale design tool we would be able to work with. We're kind of neutral in that. We are seamlessly integrated with our 2020 design by creating a digital catalog that you would go to market with. But you can use any solution that you want. We're going to be able to accommodate that in the ERP, but we have two different options for just 3D renderings, photorealistic renderings, for just the wow factor to your customer, to the accuracy of the catalogs and the pricing and all of that from the front end. We have solutions in our ecosystem of this end-to-end. So those sales orders, if you will, or even quotes before they become an order, will come into the system. We also have project bid tools if you do multi-family bid work. Again, it's modular. We meet with you once you've been through phase one with a company like Tom's, and you've put together your requirements. We're going to sit down with you and we're going to tailor our solution to fit your business needs. We do have a built-in engineering configuration parametric tool. It's called 2020 Construct. So we're going to manage the life cycle of the sales order, convert those products into a bill of materials, assign those routings through, and handle all of the inventory, all of the materials necessary for the job, back flushing that out, helping you create purchase orders for replenishment orders, every part of this, and we tailor it to what it is that you're looking for your business. So any of these, once you have the core system and the way the Insight works in that, just to kind of, I don't know, kind of show you that we have the functionality for the modules, and then we scale it through the number of licenses or users of the system. So that's kind of how our solution would be built for you. We determine the functionality that would be proper for your business and then scale it for your organization specifically. And I think Tom had mentioned something earlier about multi-plant. That is another feature that we also do offer, so that you would have visibility across multiple locations, multiple warehouses, all in one database, all funneling back to the same visibility that you have across all of your business. So we are modular in nature, and we can deploy in any manner that you are looking for, and we are going to right size this for your business. This isn't out of the box, one size fits all, and we're going to try to make you guys fit into our solution. This slide will show you that we can work with existing ERPs, like as an MES or as a warehouse management tool. So again, meeting with you, you've done your requirements work with Tom, and you kind of have an idea that you have a solution that you like on your front end, maybe managing your sales orders, but you need something more for manufacturing execution. We play well with others. This is something that we do every single day. Not too many surprises for us. This is all we do, is a cabinet woodworking business. And so most of these tools and resources that you have in place already, we're familiar with, and we're probably integrated with on some level at some point. But with your ERP, you can manage your sales order and send us those products. Like, we just have to kind of map out where the 2 solutions or 3 solutions, whatever it is that you want to weave together into a complete solution for your business. We're able to help you navigate that and pin together the right solution for your business. So yeah, hopefully it's pretty clear. And we have a little video here. It kind of will show you a little bit kind of the end-to-end journey with the solution. Can I hit play here? I don't think there's, can you guys hear that? Yeah. Gonna let this play for just a minute. It's kind of, I want to stop here really quick. What you're looking at here is our CPQ tool called 3CAD. That is one of our front-end tools that we do deploy in addition to our 2020 design software. This is a newer one for us here in North America, and I think it's something that a lot of people will be really impressed with when we start to get in front of you and show you this tool. I'm gonna see if I can start this again. That didn't work out so well. Pardon me. Let's start this over here. Long 2 minutes for everyone. Hopefully not too terrible. So it shows you a little bit about how we work end to end and touch every part of the business. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that. Why Syncly? And some of these bullet points, whether you choose Syncly and Insight or any other ERP, I think all of these have a lot of value to look for as you look for a solution. Making decisions based on the information that the feedback that's in the system. Our business intelligence tool will give you a lot of that feedback. But these are points not just for Syncly 2020 Insight, but at any point when you're looking for an ERP that you should be addressing any one of these. So it's kind of quick to run through that, but I do want to offer questions, and I'd love an opportunity, you guys, if we come back through this and go over Tom's slides, and we can sort out his recommendations and how Insight fits some of those. Do you have any questions around Insight? We are a subscription base. I know that on one of Tom's slides, he had mentioned your annual maintenance and support and looking at your total cost of ownership over, I think it was 10 years. But we are a subscription model now.
Looks like Todd has a question.
Todd has his hand up. Yeah. I'll do my best,
So,
Todd. Yeah.
well, my question is for both Tom and Angela. And we laid out 3 phases here of determining and then even implementing an ERP. And what I would be curious, Tom laid out some of the pitfalls, but in each of the 3 phases, what is the number one thing in each phase that you feel like you have to get right? In other words, if you screw that up, probably the next phase isn't going to work very well.
I'll let ladies go first, because you really, Angela, you really reap, I'm not going to say the benefit, but all of the phases, whatever bad we do, you have to deal with.
Right. And so when you start with phase 1, that would definitely be your wheelhouse. When we typically meet someone, Todd, we meet them from the point of maybe they presented an RFI to us or an RFP, and you've already determined those things. So we do our best to go through and identify how we line up against your requirements. That's where our journey typically starts. So that would be more like Tom's phase 2 identified, going from memory there. So we start with the RFI or RFP, trying to answer your questions.
So then is it fair to say, Angela, if that is not done thoroughly, I guess my question is now you're in the implementation phase, and what tends to lead to an unsuccessful implementation?
Honestly, shooting from the hip here, lack of engagements, number one. Having the right size team, having an ERP champion at the business, somebody that's overseeing the project there. Even though in our world at Insight, we do provide you an implementation manager, and you are surrounded by a support team from our side. You also have to have that internally. I think that that's inescapable, and some people miss that. So size of the team, and having a champion, somebody to really sit on top of that internally, I think that's where things start to fall apart.
Yeah.
Tom, you're nodding your head in agreement.
Yeah, I would agree, right? And that champion is everybody on this call, probably is somebody who believes in the system, knows that it's not it's change, right? So we know it's not going to be easy, but Vince and Todd and Mike, when you're the ones that are the cheerleader, so to speak, it really goes a far way. And by being a cheerleader, it's just being engaged, right? Oh, my team's got it, and you just walk away from it. That's just as bad a just because you're a champion, you've got to be actively involved. But from a phase one standpoint, I think that the biggest downfall is if there's one is everything's important, right? I have to have everything. And so what happens is when you do that, right, I have to have all the function. Everything is critical. Everything is a must have. What then starts to happen is, well, if everything's important, nothing is important. And you really don't take a look at your business and say, hey, we have to have manufacturing. We have to have financials that consolidate our facilities or consolidate our divisions or consolidate our companies. These are the things that we just, if I have CPQ, that's great. That's awesome. I don't know that and I'm not cutting Angela here, but it's really on the front end. What I find is talking through what really matters to you and weighting those appropriately, because again, that's the engine, so to speak. You're not going to buy a car because it has heated steering wheel. You're going to buy a car because it has a good engine and it's going to go 200,000 miles. And that's the piece that you figure out in phase one. Phase two, I would say the biggest piece is having the right people engaged and having a good script, because I think, for me, as I've seen many demos over this past year, we've been told, I'm thinking of a client that basically they had friends that were in the ERP industry, called them up and said, this is the system that you need to use. This is the system that'll work. And through these demos, we gave that system and those providers, I can't even tell you how many chances to show us why they should be. And they kept falling down. And so they ended up picking another system, which was a good system. But the whole point of the demo phase is, I think, is to make sure that you give the right data the right way to an Angela so that they can really show you the horsepower that they have and set expectations for the teams. And I think that's the piece that, you can get very overwhelmed when the candy store part of the demo happens. I mean, right? Because there's some cool stuff, right, Angela? There's really cool stuff. And now that AI is out there, the dashboards, there's really cool stuff that systems can do. You can get very caught up in that and forget the pieces that you really need. So I think those are by phase, those are the two big ones. And then I agree with Angela. If you don't have a champion and people engaged correctly, you spend a whole lot of money not using a system.
Any other questions? Todd, was that pretty solid?
Yeah, I mean, that was the point of the question, is that you guys covered tremendous information today, but if there was like a takeaway in each phase, what would it be? So I think you did that quite well.
I would like to add one other thought for the group. One of Tom's slides, if I may, mentioned the customization and configuration. I think that's another important thing when you look at your business processes and you're whiteboarding that out and finding an ERP solution that says, heck yeah, we can do that, because every one of them will, right? Everybody is going to be like, absolutely 100% we do that. The thing with Insight, of course, because I've got to remember that we're here I'm here on behalf of Syncly and 2020 Insights, so I do want to get this in there. So out of the box, of course, we're not going to define your processes. We're going to learn your processes, but we're a highly configurable solution. So we consider ourselves configurable, right? With not much customization needed at all, because we are purpose built from people who come from the woodworking industry, right? Who have been in it. This is all we do. So out of the box, our workflow configuration tool keeps you in a standard form of the solution. Because the next important point to that, I think, if I were a business owner, is once you start customizations, you start limiting your ability to migrate forward to newer, updated, enhanced versions, enhanced feature sets, and things like that, because you might break it. And I think that that's the one, if I had to say that there's one thing that I would want to stand on today, is that we are highly configurable and we keep you as close to a standard as we can so that we can continue to see you benefit from your enhancements and your updates to the solution, everything that we deliver. I think that that's really important. People are like, oh, they can do it. Everybody will say they can do it. Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm gonna echo that. And Angela, you bring up a really good point. Everybody's going to say they're going to do it. They won't tell you how they're going to do it. And the fact that if you have a core system, it's just a matter of I toggle this way, I toggle that way, and the configuration side of things versus the customization side of things, that's probably that slippery slope, right? Once you go down that customization path, the next thing you know, you're paying a whole lot of money to build the paper system that you're living in today.
So I would just share that with the group that's on the call that are looking for an ERP. That's one of those, you can identify your requirements and you'll know those things and you can put them on paper and send them out. But one of the nuances is just to understand by staying as close to standard as you can will be less painful down the road where you don't want to have to upgrade or update or anything like that. So I think I would bring that forward, and thanks, Tom, for echoing that. Any other questions? Vince?
Okay, thank you everybody for attending, and lots of great information to process. And we just went from entering the market to making a decision, and Tom helped us. We went with Tom because I was going to be spending a lot of money, and we wanted to make sure that we hone in on the right people, and because there's so many options and it's overwhelming. And so he asked us a 1,200 question process that helped us identify 3 and get down to the finish. And so that's where we're at in the process. And so thank you, Angela. Thank you, Tom, for helping us, give clarity of where to start and what the steps are. It's hard, and it's just a step-by-step thing. You have to go process by process, and picking good partners like Angela and Tom will help all of you. Thanks for attending. Please look for an email from the KCMA soon. Our next webinar in December on the 6th is going to be a panel discussion on implementation. And so giving you more information, our group realized that there's lots of questions, it's overwhelming, and there are lots of companies in this process out there. And so we're trying to provide solutions for cabinet companies in the KCMA. And so we'll be in touch soon about that panel discussion. And we thank all of you for attending today. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.